여러분 안녕하세요. 참석해 주셔서 대단히 감사합니다. 마르코 루지에로 박사, 제가 존경하는 분인데요. 세계적으로 저명한 과학자이자 혁신적인 연구로 많은 관심을 받고 있는 마르코 루지에로 박사님께서 생명공학과 그리고 종양학, 면역학, 신경학, 분자생물학, 생물물리학, 양자생물학의 분야를 넘나들면서 성공한 R&D의 새로운 물질 VAR 그리고 LA203을 소개하는 자리를 마련했습니다. 이 두 물질은 면역계와 신경계, 난치, 불치, 희귀질환 치료의 획기적인 가능성을 제시하며 전 세계 여러 분야에서 주목받고 있습니다. 오늘 컨퍼런스에 모시는 분들은 국가행정기관, 해외 국제개발계획위원회, 연구자, 제약사, 투자자 및 다양한 업계의 전문가들로 모시게 되었습니다. 자, 그러면은 바로 컨퍼런스를 시작하기에 앞서서 루지에로 박사님을 간략하게 소개하도록 하겠습니다. 루지에로 박사님은 그 누구도 도전하지 못한 연구의 길을 걸어오셨습니다. 에이즈, 암, 종양, 권위자인 피터 듀스버그 박사님부터 그리고 노벨상 수상자 로저펜 로즈경, 그리고 노벨상 수상자 존 뱅경, 각 분야에서 최고의 평가를 받고 있는 세계적인 석학들이 우리 루지에로 박사님을 혁신적인 천재 중에 천재라고 그렇게 인정을 하고 있습니다. 특히 자연치유의 대처의학의 큰별 디트로이트 클링 하트 박사님, 그리고 암 종양 유전자 거장이신 미국 국립암연구소의 스튜어드 알란손 박사님, 그리고 자폐의 독보적인 존재인 제프 브래드 스트레이트 박사님, 그런 분들과 공동 연구를 하였으며 세계적인 천재 동료 학자들 중에서는 그는 세계 과학계를 이끌어갈 수 있는 큰 별이라고 그렇게 평가하고 있습니다. 그가 연구한 혁신적인 R&D 물질, 지금도 전 세계 여러 분야에서 치료의 패러다임을 제시하고 있습니다. 면역계 및 신경계 질환의 새로운 가능성을 제시하고 있습니다. 오늘 과학이 도달할 수 있는 그 경계를 넘어서 함께 상상할 수 있도록 도와주시는 마르코 루지에로 박사님을 소개하도록 하겠습니다.
Thank you so much. I kindly ask my French translator to translate these words of appreciation. I'm very happy and very grateful for all of you to be here. And of course, I'm very grateful to Mr. Yuk Choi for this great opportunity to explain all the collaboration and friendship that binds us. I do not want to waste your time, so I go rapidly in the introduction of myself, my science and my career, so that we can dedicate most of the time to the description of the products that I have invented and developed exclusively for Mr. Yuk Choi. Unfortunately, I'm very old. I'm almost 69. I will be 69 next month. And therefore, my career has been very long. But I'll try to make it as short as possible. And maybe I will have to skip some slides that may be not so important. Okay, let me start by introducing myself. As I said, I was born in Firenze, Italy in 1956. I got my MD in 1980 at the University of Firenze, where I discussed a doctoral thesis on the malformations of newborns. My study career and my thesis were given the maximum marks cum laude. Later, I served in the army of NATO as lieutenant medical officer in 1982-83, and I like to mention this because here I received training on nuclear, chemical and biological warfare. I was deployed with special forces called the Carabinieri, where among other tasks I was given a task to study the harmful effects of electromagnetic fields. Since 1984, I worked as a postdoc at Burroughs Wellcome in Research Triangle Park in North Carolina, USA. Since 1987, I worked as visiting scientist at the Laboratory of Cellular and Molecular Biology of the National Cancer Institute of the National Institutes of Health of the US government, where I shared the office with Dr. Peter Duisberg. The Italian government in Rome awarded me a PhD in molecular biology for my extraordinary work on oncogenes and cancer performed in Italy and the USA. I have a specialization in diagnostic radiology and science of imaging. I was appointed professor of molecular biology at the University of Firenze in Italy in 1992, where I worked until 2014. My courses in molecular biology were evaluated as among the best by the students. Toward the end of my tenure, my course was evaluated as the best of the entire university. And the Italian government gave me a substantial grant for a research project of national interest. Over the course of my scientific and academic career, I published more than 200 peer-reviewed articles, co-authored among others by scientists such as Eduardo Lapetina, Stu Aronson, Jackie Pierce, Peter Duisberg, Henry Bauer, the late Dr. Jeff Restreet, and Dietrich Klingart. One of my articles in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences of the US was sponsored by a Nobel laureate, Sir John Vane. I am routinely invited to present my results at the most prestigious scientific congresses and conferences, including the Science of Consciousness Conference. My current research interests are in neurosciences, immunotherapy, quantum biology, microbiome medicine, and spirituality and consciousness. However, the most important development of all my scientific and academic career consists in the current collaboration with Mr. Yuk Choi and Danabiologics. This collaboration constitutes the pinnacle of my career. During the course of my scientific and academic career, I have received many awards. Here I like to mention that I was recently nominated Editor-in-Chief of the American Journal of Immunology. And also I like to mention that an article of mine is the most downloaded article ever published in the journal. The Ruggiero-Klingart protocol for the diagnosis and treatment of chronic conditions with particular focus on Lyme disease represents a revolution in the field of medicine, as it describes an innovative protocol for the diagnosis and treatment of a number of diseases ranging from cancer to neurodegenerative diseases and autism. I am routinely invited to present my results at congress and conferences. Here I wish to mention this latest honor. I was nominated the chairman of the session entitled Studying Spirituality in Neuroscience and Therapy at the Science of Consciousness 2024. This is the most prestigious conference on neurosciences, attended by Nobel laureates such as Sir Roger Penrose. Now, I will go rapidly over my early years in the late 70s and early 80s. I just want to mention that medical research and passion for medicine must have run in my DNA. My paternal grandfather, Dr. Carlo Ruggiero, 1878-1958, in this picture wearing the uniform of medical captain fighting in World War I, was a pioneer in the study of infectious diseases before the antibiotic era. Please see here one of his many scientific papers on 558 cases of measles. My father, born in 1923 and he died in 2006, was one of the first radiologists and radiotherapists in Italy after World War II. He founded the first radiological institute in Prato, Italy in 1962. I grew up surrounded by doctors and scientists experimenting with new technologies. And this was the historical entrance of the Studio Radiologico Ruggiero. My early work at the University of Firenze dealt with cardiovascular diseases and cancer. The article reproduced below, published in 1985 in the most prestigious biochemical journal, explains for the very first time the molecular mechanism responsible for myocardial infarction and ictus, and opened the way for the development of a novel preventative and therapeutic approaches. For the very first time, a supramolecular assembly is proposed. This article is one of the many I published in the field of oncogenes, the genes that cause cancer, while I was working at the University of Firenze. Then I moved to the United States and I began to work at Burroughs Wellcome Research Triangle Park in North Carolina. This is the futuristic building of Burroughs Wellcome in North Carolina. This building was designed by famous architect Paul Rudolph, and the futuristic appearance led to its use in the movie Brainstorm. My laboratory was around here in the left side of the building. At Burroughs Wellcome, I worked with Eduardo Lapetina in the Laboratory of Molecular Biology, performing research in the field of cardiovascular diseases. Among the numerous articles we published, the most notable is the one reproduced below, where I paved the way for the development of novel, powerful drugs against myocardial infarction and ictus. This article was published in the utmost prestigious scientific journal, the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences of the USA, where publication is allowed only if communicated by an eminent scientist. In my case, it was communicated by Sir John Vane, who received the Nobel Prize in 1982. And then let's move to the work at the NIH. The Laboratory of Cellular and Molecular Biology was located in Building 37. This is a picture of the NIH, the US government Department of Medicine. During my years at the NIH, I had the honor to work with two great scientists, Dr. Stu Aronson and Professor Peter Duesberg, two pioneers of cancer research studying the genes that cause cancer. Professor Duesberg, member of the National Academy of Sciences, was the first to isolate a cancer gene, and he also is the proponent of two revolutionary theories on the origin of AIDS and cancer. The years at the NIH were of utmost importance for the development of my research. I co-authored several important articles on cancer, such as the one reproduced below, published in Science, that is the Journal of the American Association for the Advancement of Sciences, where we demonstrated how the EGF receptor is involved in cancer. The EGF receptor is the responsible for most breast cancer cases. However, maybe more important is the following article on the role of a macrophage stimulating factor in cancer. Please notice, I published on this subject, that is the role of macrophage stimulation in human cancer, in 1990, in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences of the USA. Dr. Yamamoto published his first paper on the role of macrophages in rats only in 1994. Later, I worked with Dr. Yamamoto, and this is a picture of us in 2010 in his hometown of Philadelphia. We presented the results of our research at the 18th International AIDS Conference in Vienna, Austria. We demonstrated that empowering the immune system is of utmost importance in the fight against AIDS, and GCMF plays a fundamental role. In the next slide, you can see our presentation at the conference in Vienna. Now, I will not explain the entire paper because it's too long, but if you are interested, you can find it online. The presentation, co-authored by Dr. Yamamoto, Ruggiero Pacini Yamamoto, was very well received. The Italian press wrote a number of articles concerning the success of this presentation. You can see below one example published in one of the major Italian newspapers, La Repubblica. What about my work about the GCMF? My work on GCMF has been considered so important and fundamental that a journal dedicated to innovative research in medicine dedicated the cover of the issue to GCMF. Inside, you can find a thorough description of my work on the subject as reported in the following slide. Again, also this is too long, but you can find it online, and here it is described, the work on cancer and autism, and of course my work is first and foremost. This article, one of the many I published on GCMF, appeared in Anti-Cancer Research, the scientific journal of the International Institute of Anti-Cancer Research. The article describes the efficacy of GCMF in the context of integrative immunotherapy of cancer. Here, the efficacy of this approach in advanced cancers is clearly demonstrated. More recently, I discovered the elusive receptor of GCMF, a receptor the scientists had been researching in vain for more than 30 years. The article describing my discovery was published in the International Journal of Radiology and Radiation Therapy. Describes how GCMF can be integrated in the treatment of cancer, autism, and COVID-19. I am recognized as one of the most successful scientists in the field of GCMF. The email of congratulation here presented comes from Professor Yoichi Nabeshima, MD PhD, Professor Emeritus of Kyoto University. Professor Nabeshima is the senior author of a seminal article in GC recently published in the scientific journal Nature. Let me talk about my work on neurosciences, autism, and immortality. I've been working on neurosciences since 1987 when I published a work on the molecular mechanism of memory in the EMBO journal, that is the official publication of the European Molecular Biology Organization, where the articles are published only if communicated by a member, just as in PNS. In 2013, I was the first to demonstrate how ultrasonography could be applied to the study of the human brain as reported in this article. Here I also measured the brain movements during breathing. Such a study was instrumental for developing an innovative protocol for neuro-COVID-19 as reported in the article presented in the next slide. This is the article I'm talking about. All these articles can be downloaded for free. I worked in the field of autism with the late Dr. Jeff Bradstreet, a pioneer and world-recognized authority in this field who was invited to speak on autism in front of the US Congress as illustrated by these official documents. With Dr. Bradstreet, I published a seminal work that explains the root cause of autism, this one here. As a testimony to the impact of this article, it has the field of autism. It has more views than 98% of all articles ever published. The two articles presented here demonstrate the use of ultrasonography in the diagnosis and treatment of autism according to my original protocol. This article demonstrates how quantum biology is the key to cure autism. And again, all these articles are available online for free. My work on immortality led to the publication of scientific articles, as well as mention in non-scientific journals such as Vogue, as reported here. Recently, I have focused my research on the so-called hard problem of consciousness. In the article presented here, I describe the role of the brain microbiome as it relates to quantum theories of human consciousness. This work was presented at the Science of Consciousness conference in 2022. This article, co-authored by an eminent Japanese scientist, explores the concepts of the intelligence and consciousness of the immune system and its relationship with the brain. Now I want to talk about the foundation of Silver Spring, a Swiss company dedicated to medical research and product development. Together with my wife, Dr. Stefania Pacini, we founded Silver Spring, a company located in Switzerland where we perform innovative research and product development based on more than 40 years of scientific research. The research performed at Silver Spring is published in major scientific journals. One example of the many articles published with the affiliation of Silver Spring is here presented. In this article, I describe the role of mitochondria in cancer and the alteration of quantum phenomena that are responsible for cancer and other chronic conditions. Silver Spring manufactures its products in Switzerland in a Demeter-certified facility. Demeter is the oldest and strictest certification standard in the world for products destined for human consumption. Demeter certification is dedicated not only to human well-being, but also to environmental health with the ultimate goal of cosmic and spiritual improvement for the evolution of planet Earth and mankind. The following slides from the Demeter website illustrate some of the principles of Demeter. All the products made by Silver Spring are designed to be perfectly aligned with those principles. Now, I will not go into the detail of Demeter. Again, you can go on their website and read all their story, very interesting, and what they do. Now, finally, I want to talk about the collaboration with Mr. Yuk Choi and Danabiologics. More than 3 years ago, I had the honor and privilege to begin a scientific and business collaboration with Mr. Yuk Choi and Danabiologics. Since the first meeting, I was very favorably impressed by Mr. Choi's vision and professional acumen, and I immediately felt that this would have been the most significant opportunity of my long scientific career. Based on Mr. Choi's vision, I designed and developed 2 novel exclusive products that represent a revolutionary breakthrough in the field of medicine with potential applications to the prevention and treatment of a number of conditions. The design and development of these products was carried out in advanced laboratories in Switzerland, and their manufacture is performed in a Demeter-certified facility. As customary in our field, these products were given code names: 1-VAR or IVAR for the immune support product, LA203 for the brain support product. In the next presentations, I shall describe in detail those products, their mechanism of action, and application in the field of cancer, neurological conditions, and conditions associated with immune system disruption and viral infections. I thank you so much.